We want to talk about Officer Shay, fundraiser that is taking place today. He's the officer who was shot in the back of the neck tragically. He's fighting for his life. He's there with his family. He's improving. And thank God. So we're going to talk a little bit about that with Andrew Mann. He is with Sahara West Urgent Care. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Andrew?
I'm doing great, guys. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, appreciate it. Let's start with the coronavirus, if we may, and then I want to get to this great fundraiser you got going on today, which we will be at. Let's start with coronavirus. We're approaching now 2 million cases. A lot of people are concerned that we're going to get some sort of spike with this coronavirus because of people not practicing social distancing. But I want to talk a little bit about the testing sites that you have there, and what are you guys doing to help people when it comes to the coronavirus? What can you share with us?
Sure. So we've been really aggressive from the outset. We were the first place in Las Vegas that had a drive-through testing system where people didn't need to get out of their cars and potentially contaminate clinics, emergency rooms, other people, obviously, if they were symptomatic or thought they were exposed and wanted to get a test. Not getting out of your car was a very important way to do that. So we set up a drive-through back in early March, and we've been involved in testing since then because obviously this is a key to finding out who's carrying the virus and who can contaminate other people. So we wanted to be really aggressive in that, and we have been. So as testing has gotten better throughout the state and around the country, really, to be honest, we've seen an uptick, but it's not going away. So as you say, like the concerns about a second wave are real. And particularly in Las Vegas, because we're so, as you guys are well aware, and I know you guys talk about often, a tourism economy where people have to feel safe. People have to feel comfortable to want to come here and spend money. And so much of the things we do in Vegas, shows, concerts, clubs, pools, gambling in the casinos, it involves crowds and not necessarily social distancing. So it's very difficult to do that. So, as the country's attention has shifted because of what happened in Minneapolis, I think people are taking it a little bit less seriously. That's just the general sense that we have. So the numbers have ticked up slightly the last week or so. Nothing, totally alarming, but enough to where it's very important going forward that people still need to be aware that this is out there, and especially in Las Vegas, as I said, because so reliant on tourism. If we have a second wave here or an outbreak of employees at a casino or a restaurant or a bar, it's going to scare people away. And the longer that takes us to get back to normal, obviously the worse it's going to be for Las Vegas.
You mentioned what's happened in Minneapolis with the George Floyd protests and the fact that there's been hundreds of thousands of people that have been basically chest to chest for the last week and a half, and some members of media haven't mentioned it too much. But Deborah Birx said yesterday that that 70 COVID-19 testing sites across the country were destroyed during the looting and the rioting. Did any of that happen in Las Vegas? Do you know?
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah, we didn't have any of that at our clinic. I think most of the violence that happened, which I don't think was too bad, obviously, aside from what happened to Officer Mikalonis, of course, the horrible shooting on the Strip.
Right.
I think most of the protesting that turned a little bit violent was concentrated around downtown in the Strip area. So that I'm aware of, it did not impact any of the testing sites in Las Vegas. As you know,
Gotcha.
we are on Sahara and Jones. We're over by UMC on Charleston,
right.
Over by UNLV. To my knowledge, it wasn't impacted at all. But you're quite right about the number of protesters out there. That's great. People have a right to protest. But, Dr. Birx was mentioning that statistically, all these people, hundreds of thousands of people, the scenes from Philadelphia in particular, the overhead shot, just wall-to-wall people, like shoulder to shoulder. There's going to be spreading because of that we'll see probably spikes in the next.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Yeah, can we get into detail with that?
In that video that you mentioned, that was one of the that had to have been 50,000 people in the closest quarters that I've ever seen.
So let's touch on that.
What came to my mind when I saw that shot was that's great, and it seemed to be most peaceful, I think, that day in Philadelphia that I saw.
Right.
But, just statistically speaking, you're going to have people in a crowd that size. You're going to have people that are carrying, probably asymptomatic people that are young and healthy that may not even know. And that's going to create spread, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that, about the protest and why the spike. I think you touched on it a little bit, so I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. And what do you see for the foreseeable future? It might be a difficult question for you to answer. There's a lot of people that think this is going to come back in the wintertime, a lot of experts. There's a lot of people that think we might see a huge uptick in 2 to 3 weeks just because of all these protests. Your personal opinion, what do you see happening here?
Well, those are the nightmare scenarios, and this is all like uncharted territory for everyone. So you can listen to Dr. Fauci or Dr. Birx or whoever, and the best in the business. I mean, they are. But then, you look at their predictions throughout, they haven't always been accurate. Sometimes they've, overestimated what it's going to be. Sometimes they've underestimated. So nobody knows. But again, we're not out of the woods here by any stretch. You know what I mean? We really aren't. So as things open, the protests aside, but just as things are opening, people are out. I've been out a few times to restaurants. it seems like business as usual, really, as things have opened in Las Vegas, to be honest with you. I know
That's why I wanted to ask you. Yeah.
The restaurant workers with a mask and the gloves, and but as far as the social distancing, I mean, I don't know what your guys' opinion are, but I've seen it sort of go away, where I think people are taking this less seriously than they were, and like I said, particularly for Vegas, that second wave is the nightmare scenario because it'll set back our economy. I mean, as much as a hit as we've already been taking, if there's an outbreak at a big casino or even a restaurant or a club or a bar, it's like this is going to set us back months and months and months. And we're already worried enough as it is about the economy of Vegas. It's teetering on the brink, the last couple of months have been with the job loss, et cetera.
Andrew, I want to talk about what you just said, casinos. By the way, I completely agree with what you just said. I've been in some of these casinos. They claim they're practicing social distancing. They're not. I've seen 20 people at a roulette table. I've seen, I was in Laughlin, Nevada last weekend. The poker room must have had 150 people in there. I mean, they claim they're practicing social distancing. It's so inconsistent. At the craps table, you have to wear a mask. Andrew, I'm telling you the truth when I say that people were wearing masks, but they weren't putting it over their nose. I'm like, what's the point of wearing a mask?
I've seen the same thing. I've seen the same. And let's face it, the masks are uncomfortable. It sucks wearing a mask, right? Everybody knows. But as things have opened, I think just getting the green light, like, okay, we can open casinos, we can open salons, we can open restaurants, we can open bars. Just getting the green light to do that, I think people think, sort of subconsciously, okay, it's okay, everything's safe. I'm out. Well, so what? The server's wearing a mask. Why do I need to wear a mask? And I have a lot of fear. I have a lot of fear that we're going to have a second wave. And as I said, I can't say this enough. Like, our economy, so reliant on tourism, so reliant on people feeling safe coming here. We need people coming here. We need people coming here from all over the country. We need people coming here from all over the world to keep our economy going. And if we have a second wave or we have a major outbreak at any casino, that's a real problem for us going forward. So that's where the testing comes in, so we can isolate, trace, and keep those outbreaks from happening.
So the World Health Organization a couple of days ago made a statement that asymptomatic transmitting the virus on asymptomatic individuals, it happens on a very rare basis. Then they kind of walk back that statement. Right. This is a two-part question. Also, the CDC came out and based on a couple of antibody tests, like 7 or 12 across the world, not just the country, they said that the estimated fatality or the mortality rate of this virus is more like somewhere between 0.25 and 0.4. What are your thoughts on both of those things?
Well, I did notice that they walked that back a little bit. But this is also new. So I try not to get hung up on, well, this expert said this, and it didn't turn out to be exactly right, so disregard everything he says going forward. I mean, we have to be honest. Like Dr. Birx, Dr. Fauci, these people are the best in the business. So we have to follow them. We have to listen to what they say. We have to follow those guidelines as close as we can. But I want to say one thing. I mean, as all their predictions or models don't play out exactly as maybe they predicted, or the worst-case scenarios don't play out, that doesn't mean you disregard everything they say, because all this is new, and they're going on models, they're going on predictions. They're doing the best they can. They are the best in the business, both of those people, Dr. Birx, Dr. Fauci in particular. So I want to say it's important to people not to disregard what they say, because every little detail of everything they said or every prediction as far as numbers or death rates hasn't panned out. You know what I mean? Like, we have to rely on them. That's the best science that's out there, so we have to listen to them. And take the guidelines seriously.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think there's too many people out there that want to make it political, but these are the people that are in charge. These are the people that have the experience. I've been saying that for months, Andrew. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Andrew Mann, Sahara West Urgent Care. So we've touched on coronavirus and your expertise on that. Let's move on now to a horrific tragedy. A Metro police officer who was shot in the back of the neck. It is incredible that this man is still alive, number one, and he is making some improvements from what I've heard. We had somebody from Metro Police say that he is conscious now. He recognizes his family. He's on a ventilator. You guys have a great fundraiser going on today. I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about that.
Sure, thank you. So honestly, this came about. I was driving around the other day listening to your show, and you had Sergeant Lloyd on from the IPOF, the Injured Police Officers Fund. And he mentioned Shay's condition, and when he said that he was responsive to his family, my initial, well, wow, that's amazing, what a great recovery. And then the next breath he says, well, he's probably going to be on a ventilator for the rest of his life. And I literally pulled up the side of the road because I started thinking about this young officer, 29 years old, whole life ahead of him, doing his job, and what's happened to him. And then I started looking into this with the IPOF, and I reached out to them, and they explained that the medical bills that he's going to incur are going to be so substantial that we just feel like the last thing that him and his family should be worrying about right now is medical bills. This young man's a hero. So I reached out to them. They were looking for a place central to the valley, and I said, look, by all means, come to our clinic, our location, come to our parking lot. We have a drive-through setup where people don't want to get out of their car if they're worried about, not social distancing. They can drop off a donation. We have T-shirts with Shay's name on it. We have a big, huge card, Get Well Shay, that anybody can sign if they want to. So it's a great event we have going on here today. We're going to be here until 5 p.m. Donations accepted, T-shirts. We have food and drinks. So we really want everybody to come out and contribute to this cause. Like I said, this is, as much as people are divided and disagree on things, if we can agree on anything, it's a young officer, 29 years old, injured in line of duty, fighting for his life. As a community, we need to come together and support him and his family and let him know that, he's in our thoughts, and we're going to step up to the plate and do everything we can to make his recovery as successful as possible.
No question. I could not agree with you more on that one. The bottom line here is that you have, like you said it best. The officer is a hero. I can't even imagine what his family is going through right now. You sign up to be a police officer. You want to protect and serve. The majority of police officers are heroes. That's exactly what they are. They risk their lives to protect and serve. And now you have a man on a hospital bed, and people don't know if he'll ever be off that ventilator. And that's heartbreaking to hear something like that. The fact what you're doing, we all need to do everything to help. I am absolutely 100% going to buy one of those T-shirts today. I'm going to stop by there.
Yeah, and Shay's father was out here. His cousin was out here. His uncle was out here. And this is an amazing family. I was able to learn a little bit about them first on your show the other day when you were talking about how his comes from a long line of law enforcement people. His father, his stepfather, his mother, all Metro officers. And like I said, they're so grateful. They're wonderful people, and we couldn't be more proud to be involved in this cause to help raise some money for.
Can we give out that information again? Andrew, can we give out that? So it's at Sahara West Urgent Care. Yeah, give out the address and the hours and all that.
Absolutely. We're 6125 West Sahara. We're on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. You'll see us right in the parking lot. We have a huge bus with a huge banner that says "Get Well Shay." That anybody can come up and sign. If you want to drop off a donation, that'd be great. We have T-shirts with Shay's name on them. It's a great event. We'll be here till 5 p.m. today, so feel free to stop by. We'd love to see you guys or anybody else that wants to contribute. Like I said, this is the least we can do as a small business in the area is support officer injured in line of duty. And like I said, him and his family, they'll have substantial medical bills going forward, and the last thing they need to be worried about is money at this point. So we need to step up to the plate and help this young man. Like I said, he is a hero. He had nothing to do with what happened in Minneapolis, which was obviously a horrible, horrible, horrible event. I've talked to all these officers that are out here today. Not one of them thinks that's okay that was happening. They're all horrified by what happened. Right. So let's not paint with such a broad brush that all law enforcement is bad and doing things like that.
Absolutely. I agree.
Everybody's horrified by what happened in Minneapolis. Totally wrong. I hope the officers involved in that, face the justice system, go away for a long time, and everyone here agrees with me, and I'm sure Shay would agree with that too. So this young man not doing anything wrong, trying to help keep the protests that were out on the strip peaceful, which by and large they were, but obviously, one bad apple in there, this horrific incident. And here we go. This young man's life is basically in ruins. 29 years old with his whole life ahead of him. It's a horrible situation. So when I heard the other day that they were looking for a location, we reached out to the IPOF and said, please come to our location. We would love to be involved in this fundraiser.
Well, I'm glad. I guess you could say I'm glad the fact that you were listening to our show. And I'm glad the fact that you
I was.
You
Sometimes
see that?
Drive you crazy, but you guys have a good show. You let everybody give their point of view, and it's a great show. It's a great show. And I appreciate that. To talk about the fundraiser. I really do.
Sometimes I struggle about people giving their point of view if I disagree with them. I'm still working on that, Andrew. But but no, in all seriousness,
hold on.
Like I said, this is something. This shouldn't be controversial. Even. Yep. Anybody that was protesting or has issues with the police, and I do too. I have issues with, obviously what happened in Minnesota is horrible. We need to have long conversations about that, and reform needs to happen, clearly. But
by the way, Sean, soundbite that.
Young man doing his job, this was a tragedy, so we should all come together to support this cause for sure.
You have to, Sean, you have to soundbite the fact that Brian just said that he has a hard time with people that disagree with him.
Andrew has no idea who Sean is. Sean is our board operator and our producer. But don't worry, we'll play some sound coming back that you might like. Anyway, Andrew, all seriousness, thank you for doing your part and helping this family out. It really is a great thing that you and everyone over there at Sahara West Urgent Care, I wish you guys all the best. Please stay safe. And I appreciate the fact that you listen to our show, too. Thank you so much for being.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Andrew. Thank you for the kind words.
Thank you. That makes me feel pretty damn good that this guy is a fan of our show. He listens at Sahara West Urgent Care. By the way, I didn't know that. I didn't know he was listening to our show. He's listening to our show the other day, and because of what that officer said, that they were looking for a location, because of what Andrew heard on our show, he decided to reach out to the family. Those are moments like that makes me feel like we're doing some good things on this show. I call people buffoons and idiots every day.
The Vegas take,
but that makes up for it.
Is the gift that keeps on giving.
By the way, sir, again, I did not know that I did not know that. Huh. He just told us that. I had no idea.
I didn't know.